Yeah, I'm Weston Knox. I played for the Toros for 2 years. It would have been 23 and 24, and then I'm from Andover, Minnesota.
How did you first get involved in hockey?
I first got involved with hockey from my father. He was always a hockey player growing up, and then played a little bit after. And then ever since I can remember, I was on skates, playing on the pounder. I mean, Minnesota's a huge hockey state, so it kind of just came natural to put the skates on and everything. And then ever since that, it was a 24/7 thing. So.
Do you remember when you realized that you wanted to make hockey your career?
It honestly wasn't really until Minot that it kind of became. I was always a multi-sport athlete in high school. I loved football. It was just on the same page as hockey, and always dreamed of doing something in college and after high school, and had some opportunities to do some football things, and it started to seem like that was going to be the path that I was going to go on. And then around my senior year, some hockey things came about, and then got reached out by Minot and kind of didn't really know what junior hockey was. The more I kind of had an idea of it and everything, but once Cody reached out and kind of set the tone of how things go and how they're going to be, it was kind of a no doubter that this is the path I was going to do. So.
And in high school, you were part of a team that won the Minnesota High School 2A state championship. What was that like to have success all the way until the very end?
Yeah, I've been very blessed to have a great career when it comes to accomplishments. So it's been a ton of fun and having a ton of fun with it. But my senior year, we ended up winning it, and it was there's very little moments that are going to end up beating that one. That group was extremely close, and I still am in touch with all of them today. We have an alumni game that we go back to every Christmas, and it's so much fun. That moment was unbelievable, and I now actually am playing with a guy who was on Maple Grove, so we talk about it all the time. And but it was just a surreal moment and something that I'll never forget. It was unbelievable.
Now, going to your time in Minot, is there something you learned while you were here in Minot that you still use to this day?
Yeah, I think I like to say that I'm a very open human to talk to anybody, but the relationships that I built in Minot with certain people and just the entire town, I still have contacts of just fans that have reached out and I reach out to and everything. So taking that you can get a lot more out of a place from not just like the hockey standpoint of it, but the entire town and the environment and everything that it brings, honestly was kind of the biggest thing I've take from it. Like try to take everything in that you can, not just the small parts, but the big parts of like the town and the people around it, because those are the people that really make it special.
Who would you say were some of the most influential people while you were a Toro?
Oh, I mean, that's an easy answer. I mean, Cody for sure, and just the whole office and everyone there, but Cody for sure. Cody means the absolute world, and did you can tell that he doesn't just show up and do one little thing and kind of call it quits and then head home. He's a 24/7 guy who doesn't ever take a log off the fire, and sometimes that was a good thing and sometimes you wish he would, but he definitely was the most important just guy guiding me through, especially with a lot of things that happen in Minot, kind of how junior hockey goes, and he was always there to even me and keep me sane. And but then the teammates that I had were unbelievable. My second year especially, and a couple guys from the first year team that I'm still in touch with today, is they made junior hockey so much easier and so much fun. I remember like being from Minnesota, you don't leave home a lot to play, especially to play hockey. So it was the first time being away from home. So it was really tough, kind of getting used to being away from home and everything and all that. But then, especially my billet family, uh, Bozers, if you watch this, miss you guys and everything. They're the greatest. That I couldn't ask for a better billet family. I'm sure they could ask for a better billet kid, but uh, they were unbelievable. I knew them ever since I was really young. Their son played for my dad's hockey program. He would come down and basically live with me in the summer. And then so I already had a close relationship with them, but they made being away from home basically like starting a new home just there. It wasn't never really felt like I was that far away from home because of them. And I give so much to them and how much like they gave me and how much opportunity they gave me to really succeed there.
And you mentioned your billet. I actually talked to Yoel, who you lived with, and he told
Oh,
me
yeah.
about how, when you first moved in, like y'all weren't really close, but by the end of the season, y'all were like brothers. How was that friendship throughout the season?
Yeah, it definitely was a climb up to the top of the mountain. Me and him, not in any bad way. He's more of a quieter guy and kind of goes about his business in right ways, and I can tend to fall off the tracks a little bit with how much I like to talk and get around and everything. So, but it was right around like Christmas time. We kind of this night. We had a game in Bismarck, came back, and then me and him sat in my room and just played like NHL for the entire night. And then ever since there, you start to develop inside jokes with. I mean, Jesse knows them all now, but like you start to get inside jokes within your billet house and everything, and there you just grow kind of a whole relationship. And now I mean, me and Yoel were like he was one of the my best friends on the team. He was unbelievable, and it was so much fun talking to him because I think we saw the game really similar, and we were going through the same things when it came to hockey or like recruiting wise. We both felt like we were playing good enough to get something early on, and both of us were kind of getting shelled off from it, and we kind of built a relationship off of that and just kind of getting through the grind together. But we definitely have some great inside stories and everything, and it's a ton of fun. Yoel's unbelievable, and he's off doing great things. I'm really proud of him and how he's doing with everything. So yeah, Yoel is awesome.
Was there a place in Minot you always found yourself at that was outside of the rink?
Ian's no, not Ian, it was Spicy Pie. Ian's is the one here in Madison, but Spicy Pie, me and uh it kind of faded off. Our first year we'd go there every Monday, and it kind of faded off because some guys liked it and some guys didn't, so it kind of faded. But me and Trevor would always end up going uh Mondays after practice and kind of definitely get your calorie count in. So that's for sure. You get that one, but honestly, I found myself at the rink a ton because then I ended up working with uh, the youth program there in McIntosh and Bauman and how awesome they were. So I got to kind of build a relationship with some of the youth players in town. So I was there a lot, kind of helping them and being around them. So that was a great part because it felt like I was at the rink, like what I had to do, but it was a whole different atmosphere. So it was a ton of fun just to be around and everything. But I'd say spicy pie and then the rink. So.
What did it mean to you to wear the Toro jersey?
Man, everything. I mean, I remember, like I was saying, I knew the Bozers before I even got up there, so you kind of had an idea of what Minot was. And I remember talking to my dad as you kind of grow up and everything, like how cool would it be to end up going back to a place that you went to as a kid? Because we used to run some camps up there and kind of the whole experience, and you hear about it and you talk to the Bozers about how crazy the place is and how awesome it is. And then finally getting a chance to go do it. I remember took a picture of the first time I wore it, sent it to my dad, and kind of just how cool it is. And then Chad actually mentioned it, the preseason game, when you go out there and it's a random preseason game early in the year, it's still super nice outside and the place is absolutely juiced. And you sit there and you're like, God, this is pretty cool. And like this experience is going to be pretty something special. So it meant everything. It meant a lot of not pressure in a bad way, but like pressure in a good way because you can tell that everyone there really cares about the team. Like the people around town kind of work around it and they definitely show their support. So you know when you put it on, it can't just be hey, I'm throwing this on to play a Friday, Saturday game and move on with my career or life. I'm going to wear this with pride and try to get the most out of it because I know they're putting the most in it for us. So.
You were named captain your final year in Minot. Walk me through the moment coach told you about that honor.
Yeah, that was definitely a special moment and one that I didn't really fully expect because Trevor was staying and he was our captain from the uh, year before. And that spring when we were kind of there, once our season came to an end, a lot of the guys stayed for like an extra week or so and ended up getting a call and got drafted in the USHL by Fargo. And then in that moment, it felt like a great opportunity. I was really excited about it. Then when I got off the call, it kind of hit me that that means I'd have to end up leaving Minot and couldn't come here. So the next day, went into the office to have my exit meeting and everything. And of course, it was the first conversation that we had. And within 5 minutes, it was all right, I'm staying here in Minot. Like I don't want to leave this place because a lot of us had an opportunity to go out and do some things and kind of go off to what some people may say a higher level of a junior league and everything. But we all kind of agreed to stay in Minot and try to make a run for it. And then in that exit interview, he told me, he's like, hey, I'm not forcing you to stay. I'm not trying to do anything, but if you do stay, I do want to tell you that I'm going to put a C on your chest. And I've already talked to Trevor about it, which I gave him a whole lot of credit to being able to, because obviously he's wearing the captain's badge already, and be humble enough to say like, hey, I'd appreciate it if another guy wore it with me too. And I think he has a chance to be a good captain. I give him so much credit for allowing me to do that with him because it was ended up being the greatest time in the world. But yeah, Cody told me that if I ended up coming back, I'd have a chance to wear the C, and kind of having that built in, plus the town already and how crazy and amazing it was, and the people that were coming back. There was really no doubt in my mind that that's where I wanted to be. So
So once you were named captain, what was your mission for that season?
I mean, that's the best thing about our second year. You can say like it was my mission or Trevor's mission. There was numerous guys in that locker room that you could have put any C on. Like the entire group was that close, and everyone on the team was considered a leader. There wasn't many guys who were quiet, who kind of just, even like I mentioned, Joel was a quieter guy, but he led by a great example by how I think he was always the first person on and definitely the last person off. I know that for a fact, having to wait for him all the time, but uh, like the entire group was on a mission. We knew we fell short. I think we had a team that could definitely make a better run than we did our first year. And then once we kind of knew who was coming back for a second year and the type of things we could do, we all got extremely excited and we're just ready to give the town what the town was giving us and have like a reason to come up to the rink on Friday, Saturdays, even in minus 15-degree blizzards and show out. So we all kind of had the same mission of we want to make this special because we know we can and we know we have the ability to. So we wanted that Robertson Cup and we went on an amazing run. Obviously, it didn't end up how we wanted to, even though we all look back and say if we could go back and do it again, it definitely would have changed and we could have done it. But yeah, we all had the same mission. We wanted that Robertson Cup, especially because Minot's only been there one time before. We are ready to bring a trophy back to Minot.
Yeah, you went to playoffs both of your seasons with Minot. What were playoff games like in the Mesa?
Unbelievable. I remember talking to uh, Oda after our Bismarck game, or I think it was our Bismarck one or one of the game ones, and how loud the entire play. We got an empty netter, and then you sit there for the draw, and there's only a couple seconds left, and you could just hear how I don't think it went quiet for like 10 minutes straight. Even after we were in the locker room, you could still hear things. Like the town really shows out, and it shows how just special of a place Minot is, and how much we appreciate you guys because that stuff doesn't go unnoticed. We all came back in the locker room like I can't just wait to show back up tomorrow for game two because this might actually explode if we keep on doing what we're doing. So the playoff games were unbelievable. And the coolest thing, my rookie year, we ended up getting into the playoffs like the second last game of the year. So even that momentum carrying us into playoffs, that whole like the fight that it became to get into playoffs, I think kind of showed how like excited the fans were because how much they showed up and how much they appreciate us like battling through some of the tough times and finally getting to the playoffs and everything like Minot should. So yeah, the playoff games were unbelievable. How packed that place was, and I mean, I don't think you could have beat our regular season, but somehow they found a way to really do that. So it was unbelievable.
Now, you used to walk around the concourse before games. Is that still something you do?
Uh, guaranteed that is something I still do. And I remember just it was my first game at Wisconsin, and we after we finished warm-ups, and I was still kind of getting in our routine of like when we go on the ice, when's warm-ups, when like time management wise, and I was sitting right after warm-ups. It's like, God, I really got to go for my walk. I don't know if I got enough time. And then it kind of got me sad because normally when I went on my walk, there would be like 10 people that I would stop and talk to. And normally I'd get a water and a Snickers as soon as I got up to the concourse, but there wasn't anyone here that quite knew me well enough yet to kind of live out that memory. But no, I do it one, it prepares me for the game, but then it reminds me of Minot. I have a lot of things that I try to certain things that I have from Andover when I played high school that keep like I like to go back to just because it reminds me of home. And then I have a lot of things that I do, like the walk that reminds me of Minot, and it just puts me in a more of a happier place before a game and kind of a calmer mind. So I definitely still go for my walk.
Well, tell me your favorite. It could be Coach Ebbs or Coach Cody's story.
I definitely have a story for both. The best one, I'll start with Ebbs's first because his a little shorter. We uh we always had random curfew checks once in a while. And I actually have the screenshot, and me and Mahler will send it to him once in a while because we were on FaceTime doing it like by ourselves when he called. And he called one time, we were sitting there, and I was just pulling into the house, blah blah blah. And he's sitting there, he's like, I don't believe you. Like, where are you at in the house? Like, you got to make sure you're home and blah blah. I showed him around the house, and I was like, just asked him like, so Ebbs, what's a I like 27, 28-year-old guy doing on a Saturday night in Minot. And he just turns his camera, and it's a little tiny like desk with a tiny monitor, and he's just sitting there playing Fortnite with some of his college buddies. And we started like dying laughing about it because he's sitting there at a 28 playing Fortnite, and it's basically like he's living back in juniors again. So, and then also another Epps one, he lost his mind on us one time during a morning skate because apparently we weren't doing good enough, and just like quit it after the first drill and just let us hear it. And then he just skated off the ice, and we all just stared at each other and were like, so we have to like keep on going with our drills, or like what do we got to do here? And he just like, you could see him walk up with his skates all the way up to the office, and he was just like ready to be done with it. But no, Ebbs has a ton of them. You could go on for days talking about stories with those two. But my favorite one with Cody, just like Ebbs, there's 100 of them. But my favorite one is my rookie year. Ended up having some medical health stuff, and I was in the hospital for a little bit. Funny with Cody, ends up sitting in the hospital a lot with a lot of our guys, but he's starting to become a regular there, and he's never even sick. Um, but I went in, kind of had some health problems and everything, and they didn't really know what was going on at first. But they had me on just like a ton of IVs and a ton of medicine and everything, and kind of trying to deal with it, figure out what's going on. And I remember there was an IV in my hand, and I don't know, at some point in the night it must have like fell out or something got, and it would just sit there, and like you could kind of plug it in back myself, blah blah, and it was kept going. And we had in Minot in our room, we actually had roommates, and the guy that I was in a roommate with ended up having like five roommates throughout my entire time there. But that guy was definitely in a little bit worse shape than I was and everything. Uh, and doctors kept coming in and out to check on him, check on me, blah blah. But then one night, my IV really came out, and we couldn't find a way to get it back in. And our machine was beeping, beeping, beeping. And I was extreme, like I was kind of on a lot of medicine at that point. So I was kind of there, but not really. It was more Cody trying to do things, and our machine just would not stop beeping. Like, and he's sitting there clicking the thing, like calling for the doctors. And then finally, like, this is when like we all got worried then, because then like 20 doctors came in. And I was the first bed. There's a like a sheet, and then the second bed with my roommate. And like 20 doctors started to come in, and Cody like looked at him and went, "Oh, thank you, like finally." And all 20 of them just walked like right past him as my machine is like beeping, going out of control. All 20 doctors just like walked right past him and went to my roommates. And as like every person is passing, you can just see like Cody's face, like what he does on the bench, like just staring at every single one walk by, and they all like kind of gathered in the other room. He's sitting there, and he's like freaking out, losing his mind. And yeah, it was that little hospital trip, as much as it scared people, there's definitely some great memories. It's tough to say great, but there's some nice funny memories. If you were to ask Cody about him getting his my chicken wings, I'm sure he'd have a laugh about that. Yeah, that little trip was not the most fun for my health wise, but definitely fun for the memory wise.
You have a lot of fun memories from Minot. What would you say your favorite road trip memory was?
Favorite road trip, and honestly, it wasn't even a game road trip. My second year, we ended up taking a trip out to a cabin in North Dakota, and we ended up spending 2 days there, and it was like the perfect opportunity because everyone that doesn't already know, the Cody Campbell boot camp ain't exactly the easiest thing a human can go through. So it was at the end of that, we had a bye week the very first week of the year, and we decided to take a trip up. And that was like, we were already extremely close with what we were going through with having to deal with Cody. But then we ended up being able to go on that trip, and it was like the final hurrah before we really got the season going, and kind of how close we got from that trip. Ended up like uh, raining the entire trip, so everything was soaked at all times, and we have some great memories of card games, and you can definitely see the junior college side of Cody come out when the cards were kind of getting tossed around. He never played, I'll give him that, but he was definitely losing his mind on certain calls that guys were making and kind of putting his foot forward on what he would have done. And yeah, that was a great time because we got a ton of inside jokes from that time and kind of how special that was. And it was a great camp. There was a ton of things to do. I know we went canoeing and definitely had some flips. And then we had our sauna that somehow we ended up getting working. I don't really ever figure out how we did that, but we ended up getting that working, and that was a ton of fun. And yeah, that trip up to the cabin was probably my favorite time. And then, uh, yeah, and then we both years we ended up taking a road trip to Mall of America and the Wild game, and big Wild fan. So the experience of going to a Wild game was obviously fun, but like just the chance to get to go around Mall of America with 26 guys playing junior hockey definitely can get a little interesting. So yeah, it was a ton of fun.
How do you feel like Minot prepared you for the next level?
I mean, especially with the Central Division and how like hard that division is, there is no off nights, and that's been the biggest thing. And especially here in the Big Ten, there's no team that's a slouch. There's no one that's going to end up just giving you an easy night off. And that's how the Central was and how close and intense the games were, where it came down to really the smallest details. I mean, if you go back and watch even our first year and second year, the goals that we were scored were not many fancy tic-tac-toe plays. It was a lot of little one hitters, a forecheck that led into an opportunity on just around the net and being greasy and getting those type of goals where there's only a couple times a year I can say a guy kind of comes through and makes a crazy play that ends up in the back of net. It's a team 5-man unit, and sometimes even like with Swedes and Brady in our net, it ended up being 6-guy unit and how good they were at playing the puck. And you can tell even at the college level, goalies get only better with being able to play the puck, and it adds another whole person you have to worry about when it comes to moving the puck. And I think it just prepared you for how hard like college hockey is going to be, and how like that's the biggest thing in college hockey. That's been the biggest adjustment is how strong everyone is. Yeah, they might be a smaller height wise, but that means they're just going to be stronger wide wise. So the competitive level of the Central and how hard and heavy the league was in that division, especially, definitely is the biggest success from jumping from juniors to college.
Well, then finally, do you have anything to say to Toros fans watching?
I still appreciate you guys more than you guys will ever know. I mean, definitely receiving texts, and I actually received a gift from a fan right before my freshman year. It was a hockey stick cross, which I really appreciate. I still have it. It's been it's been through the ringer when it comes to being under my gear. So the necklace part itself, like the chain has kind of gotten beaten up, but I still have the pennant in it. Sits in my room. It sits everywhere I go. It means the world to me, especially with how they treated not just me, but our entire team and the entire organization, and how much they really care about us. You guys pushed us just as much as Cody did. Like we wanted to show up for you guys just as much as you guys showed up for us. So we all appreciate it, and you can tell it made an impact on all of our lives going forward.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and good luck the rest of the season.